What I think needs to happen, and I hope the Republicans, are you listening, Loudermilk? Are you listening, folks up there, Jim Jordan, my brothers who I used to ride with on Air Force One? You need to remember that J6 committee has some unfinished business. There were more FBI informants up on Capitol Hill that day, possibly instigating that crowd, than the FBI itself could keep track of. There were stories about that. Why did Nancy Pelosi not provide more Capitol Hill police? Why did Mark Esper, the Secretary of Defense, have the National Guard so far away? And as for the destruction of evidence, sir, look, the things they are doing, Hillary Clinton, like cleansing her, I mean, there's so many things these Democrats have done that would actually justify prison. You juxtapose that with me. All I've done is my duty. All I have done is my duty to this country, the Constitution, my commander-in-chief, and to my oath of office. All right, one more.
Do you want a pardon either for President Joe Biden or Trump if he becomes president?
This is going to the Supreme Court. My mission in this, and I will have served my time by the time that mission is completed, is to get this in front of the Supreme Court, and I hope that they will put politics aside and look at, this is what they call a case, this is important, this is what they call the case of first impressions, okay? There are so many novel legal issues in this case that require the settlement, again, another legal term, of good law on the subject, settling good law. It's crying out for the Supreme Court to do this. But the tragedy here is because I have not been released pending appeal, I will have already done my time before that is done. But that's the price of living in Joe Biden's America right now. God bless you all. I'll see you on the other side.
What about a pardon for Trump?
Wow. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Kingdom Lum Small Town Underground. Good to be with you again for another candidate conversation. As you know, we're going to be rolling these out between now and May 15th. We're going to be very, very busy over here at the channel. Thank y'all for hanging out with me. Last night, we had a little bit of a hiccup, and so we're taking some precautionary measures. If the stream happens to fall out, we will be able to continue with our interview tonight, and we'll be able to post it later. So just bear with us as we fight against everything, all the odds against us. So, as you can see, I have Mr. Mike Pons here with me this evening.
Good evening.
Has decided to drive in and do an interview with us. As you all may know already, he's running for U.S. Congress, or the House of Representatives, and he's running against Barry Loudermilk. And so it's a pleasure to have you back to the show tonight. And we've been talking about some cool stuff for the show, so we're going to show you some really, really interesting things. So as we get started, Mike, go ahead and tell our audience who you are, what on earth are you doing running for public office and all that good stuff.
What on earth am I running for? That's a good one. It's been about three months plus since the first time, and last time I was on, and we had a great time. Well, hey, you know what? I'll give the introduction.
Yes.
I'm 68 years old. I'm a retired airline captain, and I thought, well, hey, I'm ready to live the American dream, but what happened in 2020, we all know COVID just took everything. Bingo. It is gone.
Yeah.
Our freedom was gone. There were lockdowns. Just flatten the curve. You don't need a mask. Then you need 2 masks. Stay at home, and then take the shot.
Right.
If you don't take the shot, you lose the job. Then you got to take a second shot, and then you die.
Yeah.
It's not quite that easy, but
seems
it kind of yeah. Well, it reminded me of what Bill Gates wants to do with depopulating the world, but we lost a lot of freedoms.
We did.
We kind of fell for the trap in a lot of ways. The medical tyranny, along with the other tyranny that occurred. But so what happened was I started watching Steve Bannon's show, and we played a clip from that Peter Navarro clip where he's in prison and for exercising his executive powers. He was not the executive power, but the separation of powers. So in 2020, I'm watching Steve Bannon in August, and he's talking about Mark Elias and the Transition Integrity Project, and he says, you need to be a poll watcher. And I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. I'm retired. I want to have a good time. I want to ride my motorcycle. I want to play my guitar. I just retired. And then he said, well, you got to do it again. He kept on saying, you got to be a force multiplier. You got to do this. And so I went with he's now a friend, Garland Favorito.
That's correct.
And did with his voter GA and became a poll watcher, although I didn't do that. And then the next step that happened for me was that I learned about, I want to make sure I get his name, Daniel J. Schultz. He wrote, he has the precinctstrategy.com. You go on there. And so I became a precinct committee person, co-chair, then eventually a chair. And then and that was in 21 and 22. I became a poll worker.
Okay.
That was a lot of fun.
So you were a poll worker actually for the 2022 election.
Yeah,
oh, okay.
yeah, and it was rather interesting. It's hard work to do that,
right?
Because you're going to be there all day.
Oh yeah, that's what I hear.
Yeah, it's tiring, but there was a reward about it. You know, you work together with people, they have a good team, and they ask you to come back because they like working with you. That's a compliment. And then magically, what happened in 2023, we had the turning point. Why I decided to run was because of this press release that Barry Loudermilk gave, and it says the Republican Loudermilk. It says Republicans take first steps to curb out of control big government spending. Well, that was the Fiscal Responsibility Act. It's right there. Right?
Okay.
The Fiscal Responsibility Act created a situation with unlimited debt, unlimited spending till 2025.
Okay.
Let's fast forward to April 20th. We had HR 815.
Okay.
$95 billion.
Right.
I'm going to dig into that bill here pretty soon.
Right, yeah.
But when when I saw that press release, before it was a press release, he was looking for a donation.
Okay.
And an hour after that vote came through, and I had about somewhere between 80 to 100 people call his office. And when I sent the text out individually, I try to make sure that there's a little note so it's personal.
Right.
And almost everyone said done. Because they knew the gravity of the situation there.
Gotcha.
And so what happened was you have the elixir of money and power. They go hand in hand.
Right.
And they just gave the executive branch all the power that they need. And they did it again on April 20th.
That's correct.
When that happened, I did not realize how the debt would just accelerate. But what I was looking at was not the acceleration of the debt, because we went from, and I have another chart right here to show you, we went from 30, this is a hockey stick.
Oh, yeah.
I tell you, this is from the Treasury
the total
Department.
debt, that happened during COVID, correct?
Yeah. Well, no, this is, look at this, 2023.
2023.
Right, this is like June of 2023, we've over 10%.
Wow.
Right there. So go get that. That was the ancillary part of it. I didn't see that part coming. But the part of giving up all your power.
Sure.
I literally could not sleep for a week. I mean, I was tossing and turning. I was so angry at the fact that you have this government that goes out and says, hey, that border wall, it's coming down. on April, was it January 25th? No, that's not the wrong one. January 25th.
I wish I had a document, Cam. He's got the notes, y'all.
Yeah,
I
got the receipts. I do. And so Biden said, hey, I'm attacking America. We're going to let everybody in. We're going to make America less American.
Sure.
Because none of these people share our values. And did they take the COVID shot?
Well, I'm sure a lot of them did, probably.
I don't think they did. They don't even check them for tuberculosis.
Oh, no, they don't check them for anything.
Yeah.
But during COVID, that was crazy, though, that they were letting people come in to the country that weren't even vaccinated while they were threatening you with your job for to get vaccinated. That's pretty crazy.
So, why would you, when somebody declares war on you, why would you surrender? Why would you handle all the ammo? Oh, I mean, Biden was pretty good at that in Afghanistan.
Yeah. Oh, my Lord. Yes, Afghanistan. That was a huge, huge failure. I mean, that failure is not even the right word. It was a travesty how he handled that situation. And
I think it was intentional.
of course, it was intentional. There's nothing coincidental. Everything is intentional. I mean, this entire push, everything you're talking about, is intentional to kill this country. We know this.
So why do these people do that? Why do these Republicans vote for the Fiscal Responsibility Act? Why do they vote for H.R. 15? And when I show you H.R. 15, it's going to blow your mind.
Right.
I mean, you're not going to see it coming.
You know, my guess is, and I'm just going to be honest with you, my guess is why these people go along with it is either they've been promised a guarantee at the table, and they know that there's nothing that it can be done to stop what's coming, or, you know, and they live in this grand illusion that they're somehow going to, you know, get through this unscathed, or there's just a lot of money and they just don't give a crap, and they're just going to buy everything they can buy and do everything they can do to try to, you know, wage their odds. You know?
Well, I think this, you know, I call D.C. the district of corruption.
It certainly is.
That's exactly what it is. You have 13,000 registered lobbyists to 535 congressmen between the Senate and the House, right?
Yeah.
So, and there's some good people in there. There's some really
Very
good people.
few, but yes.
Yeah, and that's, you know, they're career politicians. They're getting paid, but you know, how much money does it take for you to watch the destruction of your country, right? And you're helping in the process, thinking that you're going to be untouched.
Sure. I don't know. I mean, you think about this, and we've brought this up before. Even when Donald Trump was president, we had a Republican majority. Now we have a Republican majority in Congress. We still cannot get things passed. We still cannot get these omnibus bills broken down. We still are giving away billions and billions of taxpayer money all over the world to these proxy wars. We're still doing all of these things. We have a majority Republican Congress. Insane.
Can I ask a dumb question?
Please.
Have you ever heard of the military-industrial complex?
Oh, yes.
Or just
Alive and well.
Industry in general.
Alive and well.
Well,
where do you think a lot of this money is going to?
Well,
When people think they're writing these blank checks and they're sending them overseas, what they're doing is they're writing checks to everybody in the military-industrial complex so that they can build all of these weapons of destruction and send them over.
Well, that's if they actually get to where they want to go.
If they actually get them, exactly.
Yeah. I've heard talks of that the corruption rate of the stuff that we send to Ukraine
Sure.
was 10%.
Well, I mean, after 2014, it became a money laundering capital of America, you know. I mean, we all know this. They said a proxy government, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
So.
You know what, which brings a great point also on Rumble. It used to be on YouTube, but they took it off. A film by, it was called Ukraine on Fire.
I've heard of this.
Yes, and it gives a really great briefing on the situation in Ukraine and how it came to be. Oliver Stone was the producer of it.
Yeah, okay. I know I've watched a little bit of this. I have not seen the whole thing, but yes, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, well, you talked about 2014, right?
Yes.
And guess who was involved in 2014?
Barack Obama.
Well, and his sidekick called Joe Biden.
Oh, of course, Joe Biden.
Hillary Clinton.
Are you kidding me?
The senator from Arizona, McCain.
John McCain. Who else?
Victoria Nuland.
Oh, yeah.
Raheem.
Who else was it? What's
Raheem
it? Nancy Pelosi? Doesn't she have some ties to Ukraine? Her sons, some business.
I don't know about that, but I know Hunter Biden worked for Burisma Holdings.
Burisma, yes.
Yeah, so,
yes.
but in any case,
10% for the big guy, right?
Well, yeah. Well, but now it's 50%.
Of course.
That's what it's up. I forget the CIA agent's name that went to Ukraine, talked to Zelensky, and said, "Hey, you need to back off on this. You're buying too many yachts. You know, you're not hiding it anymore."
Hence DC.
Yeah, the District of Corruption.
District of Corruption.
Yeah. So I loathe going to DC.
Right.
Somehow or another, I feel there's some miracle is going to happen, and I'm going to end up there.
Well,
how that happens,
sure,
I don't know. But at some point, you know, we gotta put our foot down.
Absolutely.
We gotta put our boot on their throat and tell them to stop it.
We must. I mean, we almost. I feel like we're already in the death throes, right? We're having so much opposition to people who are willing to stand up against all of these lies and corruption. And I don't know if you've been following the news lately, but Boeing recently had their second whistleblower that mysteriously, the first whistleblower was the day before he was supposed to testify, ended up committing suicide, and now the second whistleblower
allegedly committing suicide. In my book.
And then the second one that just recently got some mysterious illness and fell ill and died from it. So
Must have took the COVID shot, I guess.
what a coincidence, right?
Yeah.
What a coincidence. I'm
You know,
telling
Steve
you.
Bannon says there are no conspiracies, but there's also no coincidences.
Right? Yeah, I agree. So
he,
it's a lot for people to take in.
It is.
So
it is.
you've decided that you're going to try to make a difference, and that's where you're at. You're running.
If I can budge the needle just 1 degree,
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing great.
Absolutely.
It's going to take a lot of us to do it, and I feel that we have a grassroots movement underway, and Marjorie Taylor Greene is at the forefront of that, and maybe Matt Gaetz and the rest of the Freedom Caucus. The guy that I like to give a shout out to is Eli Crane from Arizona. The interesting thing about him is I believe he's a first-term congressman, a Navy SEAL, and he never smiles. I wouldn't want to mess with the guy. And former Speaker McCarthy is sending all of his PAC money to have him defeated in Arizona.
Of course.
Yeah, and guess along with Nancy Mace.
Yes.
People that said, bye. And so getting back to the grassroots thing, that we're kicking these people out.
It's true.
You look at McCarthy, he's gone. You look at Ronna McDaniel.
Yes, a blessing
Right.
that she's
This is
gone.
grassroots stuff, and
It is.
a lot of it happens from that War Room posse,
I agree.
Steve Bannon show, and that's how I pretty much got involved with it. And then, of course, we got McConnell will no longer be the minority leader.
Turtle McConnell. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What a huge letdown. He was always been a letdown. I could not ever stand Mitch McConnell. And now the man is literally like freezing up in the middle of interviews, but he's going to stay on till the end of his term. I'm like, what kind of puppet master does he have? I mean,
Dianne Feinstein.
yeah, well, for sure.
She held on to that. She was frozen onto that. To take her cold hands off the throttle there.
It's so wild.
But this is a grassroots thing, and I'm hoping that I am part of it. And if the least I do is I educate people on what the sinister workings of DCR. I'm just starting to really dig in and get to some knowledge of it. We can fast forward from why I ran. I couldn't sleep, and then I for 3 months I was like, should I do this? I spoke to Loudermilk 3 times, and I'm going, oh, what a nice guy, really a nice guy.
I don't know him, but I hear he's very well spoken and just a very nice guy.
Yeah, he's a real. You want it for your neighbor. Hey, let's go have a beer. That sort of thing. And then the more you learn, you go, he's part of the process.
Right. It's the good boy system. The old, it's the I call it the country club system.
Right.
You go in the back room and everybody's laughing, having a good time, making the deals, and nobody needs to know about it, right?
Well, they want you to be ignorant.
Of course.
And they hide the football. But in the week of April 15th, tax day, all the way to the 20th when they passed H.R. 15, I promise you I'm going to maybe show you something you don't know about that bill. I was watching football the whole time.
Okay.
And so what I learned is that they have a process, with the resolution. They have a process with a resolution. So he votes yes on the process, no on Ukraine. So he brings it to the table. He says, okay, guys, you vote on it. I'm out of here. That's exactly what he did. Now, H.R. 815 is it's a veterans bill.
Okay. Now, HR, is this a state or is this federal on the federal level?
This is federal. Everything I'm talking about is federal.
Okay. And
so H.R. 815 they wrapped up 4 bills into it. 8034, which was, I believe, Ukraine, 35, 36, and 38. So you have Ukraine, you have Israel.
Are you trying to tell me that they put bills inside of bills to be voted on?
Yes. Well, they separated them out.
Yes.
They separated these 4 bills out. So so Loudermilk, he voted yes on Israel. He gets $35,000 from Israel Super PAC.
Ah, okay.
So
Okay.
That's his largest donor, by the way. He votes 80-35. He votes no because that's the Ukraine bill.
Okay.
80-36 is the
Indo-Pacific or Indo-China
right,
bill, yeah,
which is
Taiwan, where they
Right.
got, they're just throwing money at Taiwan and put the middle finger to China.
I could do a doctorate on any of these bills,
Got
how
you.
corrupt they are. And then you got 80-38, which is the 21st Century Peace Through Strength Act.
Gotcha.
And it's nothing about adding any
Peace through strength.
Right, right. And I'll get into that later. So that's what that bill is, right? And so I'm going to see if I have another part. Okay, I'll get to that later. So how H.R. 815 starts at, the Relief Act. It's a background. Current law prohibits the Department of Veterans Affairs, we got it right across the street, from reimbursing veterans emergency care services received in a non-VA facility. Now,
Really?
yeah, right. That's H.R. 815. They take these 4 bills, they wrap it up into one bill, send it off to the Senate to vote on, which of course they passed, and the president signed it like 4 days later. And so now, here's H.R. 815 out of the Senate.
Okay.
Resolved, the House agrees to the amendment of the Senate Bill H.R. 815 entitled An Act to Amend Title 38 of the U.S. Code to make certain improvements relating to the eligibility of veterans to receive reimbursement for emergency treatment furnished through the Veterans Community Care Program and for other purposes. And for other purposes.
Always with other
and
purposes.
For other purposes.
Which are not seem to be specified, huh?
With the following. This is the last time you see the word veterans in a,
In a Veterans Affairs bill.
In a Veterans Affairs bill. There's nothing in there about the veterans. This is how sneaky they are. This started in the Veterans Administration Committee a little over a year ago.
Well, of course, like the Patriot Act, right? The Patriot Act sounds wonderful until you find out 20 years later what the Patriot Act is really all about. So,
So why did my question to blank check Barry?
Yes.
Because he wrote another check here. He gave unlimited spending.
Okay.
Why did he vote for this? So he's a constitutionalist.
Is
And
he?
he's a veteran. He's just spit in the face of every veteran. Did the self-bleep, by the way.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Sorry, guys, I'm from New York. And I used to referee ice hockey and play ice hockey.
And I was born in Chicago, so I get it.
Yeah. So okay. And there's nothing in there. And then, okay, so here, check this out. Department of State, page 12, line 8, Migration and Refugee Assistance. For an additional amount for migration and refugee assistance, $3.5 billion.
Really?
Right there.
Now, what does that have
Now, what
anything
have
to
to do
do with
with
the
veterans?
veterans?
Exactly. What are the veterans getting out of this? If you're not off, I don't know what to tell you.
Wow.
I really don't know what you. Now you see why I can't sleep at night lately, because I'm really trying my best to freaking knock the socks off these mothers. I'm really I've had enough with it. So MikePons.org, MIKPONS, it's right back there. $5, just $5. Contribute to me. I need all help I can get.
Yeah.
But more
This is
importantly,
wild.
I need your vote. Get
You
your
know,
friends to vote
and so
for me.
many people. What you're highlighting here is very simple. It's not hyperbole. There's no conspiracy theory here. You're showing how these bills were wrapped up in a tight little beautiful package under the word veterans, right? Because psychologically, somebody hears the word veterans, they hear the word patriot, and they think it's a good thing. And they've hidden
Or
all
peace
of these.
through strength.
Yeah, peace through strength, right? Sounds very Orwellian. And this is the standard operating procedure for DC, for state, for everything, to cram all of this crap in all of these bills that nobody can see, and they have the nice little beautiful bow that says, hey, this is for the veterans, and it has nothing to do. This is insane. How do we stop these things?
Well, you get people, ordinary people like me, who are not career politicians, who don't need the job,
Right.
that are putting their own capital out on the line and risking everything to
Right.
hopefully that the reward is that we save our country.
Now, you said Barry Loudermilk signed this bill, right?
He approved 3 out of the 4.
You proved
He He signed into the process.
I wonder if he understands what you're showing right
I have
here.
no idea. I haven't had a chance.
I would like an explanation to people who
I brought
signed
this
on
up
to
in
this.
a forum the other day. I think it was a week ago. It's April 25th. And the forum get questions from the audience, right? Is that for me?
It could be. It could be for both of us. It could be the SWAT team. Who knows?
Yeah.
So
yeah, ATF, right?
there's actually somebody walking down the street playing an acoustic guitar right now that I just passed over. Anyway.
It's a decoy.
Yes.
So, speaking of decoys, there's maybe we should just stay on top of this topic.
Sure.
But the other thing that's in this bill also is Russia. Russia comes up. And it's not in the Ukraine situation. What they want to do is they want to take the Russian assets and hand it over to.
Oh, that's right. They wanted to
Ukraine.
seize the assets and they want to give it to Ukraine. Yeah, I heard a little bit about this.
Repo.
Yeah.
So you have to take a commercial break.
This is wild stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
I read bills all the time. I'm mainly focused on state, but this is just a standard operating procedure. We've got to change all of this, and it's insane.
Well,
It's insane.
it is insane. And so there's what's going to happen. What Zelensky, he met with Jamie Dimon in November, I think it was last year. He met with Bill Ackman, Larry Fink. I mean, these are billion.
Oh yeah, BlackRock. Because BlackRock wants to rebuild Ukraine. They want to be
That's-
forefront leaders of rebuilding Ukraine. All that wonderful money going to
with
BlackRock.
taxpayer money.
Yeah, of course,
Yeah,
of course.
I mean, so if Biden gets in office, he wants to raise taxes.
Yeah.
And can you imagine?
He's already doing that. What, 3 days ago, he's proposing some legislation again on higher taxes for the rich and all these things. And of course, we all know that it's not what it's even designed to be. We know about the 87,000 IRS agents, right? And all of these ways that they're trying to track us in our bank accounts. I mean, we know all this is fake, but he's already trying to do it in the middle of this. The sludge we are in America.
Yeah, well, that sludge was brought to you by the Fiscal Responsibility Act, right? The Fiscal Responsibility Act.
Okay.
It was the unlimited spending, unlimited deficit, unlimited budget, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah, well, the debt ceiling was lifted.
Right. So what did you come up with? You come up with spend, you come up with borrow, you come up with print, you call it inflate.
Sure.
And that's what I was pounding the table, anybody that would listen in 2022 about how inflation was at that point about 20-25%. It may be going up to 30. Now we're looking anywhere between 50 to 100%
Right.
easy.
And those numbers are always skewed. I mean,
Well,
it's
no,
ridiculous.
those numbers are not
No,
skewed.
I'm saying your numbers are the real numbers.
Yes,
But
right.
I'm talking about when you turn on the TV and they try to equate all the inflation. Well, it's only 14%. It's bull, and we know that, you know.
And then they always revise the numbers higher, but it never makes the news.
Yeah.
You know, that's that media thing that goes on. This CIA is. Go ahead.
Let me tell you something about inflation, all right? And I'm telling on myself because I had a really rough day yesterday. We had a great podcast with Jimmy Gray, but I had went the majority of the day without eating. And I was starving. Okay? So I don't ever eat Crystal anymore, hardly. I mean, ever, no, not ever. It's something I just don't eat anymore. It upsets my stomach. And as I was going through town last night, I was starving, and I thought, you know what? It's the last stop on the way home. I'm going to get there, and I'm getting the drive-thru. And I get in the drive-thru, and there's only a couple of cars, and I order the same. It's one of the combo meals that, I've ordered, and it's probably been 3 or 4 years since I've ate that Crystal. And I couldn't believe it when they said what the price was. And I went and paid it. I was hungry.
Right.
But it was $16 for a combo meal. Just regular, like the couple double cheese Crystals and fries and a drink. It was $16.10 for Crystals.
Yeah.
So don't tell me that inflation is 14% when you're paying literally 100% more than you were paying for that, 3 years ago. But that's where we're at in this country. $16. But anyway.
So let me ask you this question: how much did it cost you 3 or 4 years ago?
I mean, you could get that for
$8.
$8 or $9.
Yeah, there's 100%.
Exactly, it's 100% inflation.
Yeah.
And
so,
I paid it. I idiotically paid it. Should have just drove out of the drive-thru and said no way, and I could have got some peanuts.
well, I think you did. I think you did the right thing. I think paying it. But you just didn't know.
I did not know, and
that you just don't.
that's
know.
where we're at on everything, brother. Everything. And fiscal responsibility, lifting the debt ceiling, the proxy currency that we're living under, that's worthless, absolutely worthless.
Well, that's what they're doing. So I try to explain to people, oh, yeah, life's really good, blah, blah, blah. Well, how much does it cost you to do this? In your case, or let's use you as the example. And I go, okay, so your dollar is now worth 50 cents.
Mm-hmm.
So when you want to go out and buy something, because your net worth is 50% less, you have less options to buy what you want to buy now, because you're like, hey, I'm not going to do this. I'm going to go someplace else. This option's taken away.
Mm-hmm.
Options equal freedom. You've just lost 50% of your freedom. But people don't see it that way. And I try to explain that to people that just have their, they bury their heads in the sand, if you will, and don't want to pay attention to what's going on. I talked to this one girl the other day. She owns a house, and she's got 3 roommates. I'm like, yeah, everything's okay? Yeah, everything's great. I'm like, okay. Yeah. Keep fooling yourself.
Well, I mean, what did Klaus Schwab say from WF? You own nothing and be happy, right? Where are all these government subsidies and grants coming from in new construction? Why, build small domiciles, not houses, not things that people can buy, but build rental properties, triplexes, duplexes everywhere. Everywhere you look, you're seeing phone poles, electric poles being put up. People are living in campers. They can't afford a house anymore. I've got kids. I got a kid that's graduating high school, going into college. How on earth can they afford a house in this day and age? We're being forced to become renters. It's insane.
Yeah. Well, that was the World Economic Forum mantra.
It was a promise.
Yeah, exactly. You'll own nothing and be happy.
Yes.
So how can you be happy with not having freedom?
I don't know.
They've taken that down, by the way.
Of course.
It's not on there because people are not as stupid as they want them to be.
Sure.
So
they were actually pretty brazen to think that people would accept that. Whoever, and their little commercials, and they're talking about it, and that was very, very unaccepted. But in incremental steps, it's happening all around us. And who is supporting these things? Our Republican commissioners, our Republican senators, our Republicans in Congress, all these people are the ones that are letting this go on.
It's funny. I say people, hey, I said that you're getting hit in the back of the head with a 2x4 and you're not feeling it, and they're out of touch. They're out of touch. They don't see that our country has lost its way.
Right.
And my job is to bring that country back on track to where it is. Can I do that in my lifetime? I don't know, but I'm going to give it the best possible shot.
Well, you're not trying, right?
Yeah.
What's the point of this podcast? What's the point of doing any of these things if we don't think we're fighting for a difference, right? So, I mean, I certainly applaud you for that.
Well, thanks. There's a lot of people who are starting to give me support.
That's
a lot
good.
Of support.
That's good. That's good.
When I had my first forum
Right.
with Loudermilk, a lot of people attended it, and they probably wanted to see Mike Pons' clown show, but they got something that they didn't expect.
Right.
And that changed everything.
Right.
That changed everything, and I was counting on that to happen. I thought, well, I got to prepare the candidate. I got to get ready for the fight. I got to, I'll debate Loudermilk anywhere, anytime.
Oh, I'm sure.
Whoever the moderators, and I'll even let him pick the questions.
Sure, I understand that, because let's talk about this for a second, because I don't know Barry Loudermilk personally. I've heard a lot of things, and I've heard people who like him. I've heard, I'm not against Barry Loudermilk. I understand that I'm fighting for grassroots changes all over. But let's talk about this. So this is it's sort of an enormous opponent for you. So it's an uphill battle, but you're giving it seems like everything that you got, and that's admirable. But how do you feel about this?
I feel like I'm leaving some on the table, but I'm working as hard as I can. I really am. I feel like I could do more. There's a lot of people that are counting on me.
Yes.
And those people, I don't want to disappoint those people. That's my biggest concern.
Right.
Is doing that because it is a bit overwhelming at times, but I wish I could speak right now, but I think I can beat this guy.
Well,
I really believe I can beat him.
Part of this whole movement is, and I explain this time and time again, is it's not business as usual anymore. And we're fighting against this establishment party that was so used to people not paying attention, so used to people just letting things be going, and all they wanted was the thumbs up saying, hey, we got you back, right? And we know that we're in dire straits. So we have grown this movement to where people like you can stand up and can run against these establishment politicians. I think it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. But we've got to get people not only excited, but they have to come out and vote if they want change. They've got to come out and vote for people that new blood, that's grassroots, and will be accountable to the people. And I think that's so important. And we drive this point over and over again. You know, vote your conscience. I hear all of these things so many times from, oh God, since I've joined these parties, oh, we've got to get behind the winner, the person that's going to win. What good is that to get behind just a person just because they can win if they don't, number one, don't ever change anything, but they're lying to you to your face. Okay, I'm not an advocate of that. I'm going to vote my conscience every single time, and if we had more people that would do that, people like you would make that difference. We would be able to get that fresh blood in that we need, and know that you're being held to a standard by the people, right?
Yeah, everything you're saying is 100%.
Yes,
I believe it. The most valuable tool you have as an American is your vote.
Absolutely
because
correct.
You're taking my credibility, my honesty, your belief in me, and saying, hey, you're going to represent me, and I need you to represent me.
Right.
Not some billionaire class lobbyist down there who's going to wine and dine me, that sort of thing. It's the most value. Your sovereign right is you're entrusting me with that, and we're entrusting Loudermilk with that.
Right.
And he's failed us. I'm showing you right here on here how he's failed us.
There you go.
He's not, and he claims he's a constitutionalist. He also was a member of the Freedom Caucus. You want to hear something insane? I have it in here somewhere, but I don't want to spend time digging it. 3 weeks after he voted for the Fiscal Responsibility Act, unlimited debt, unlimited spending, he sets forth an amendment for a balanced budget. Hello? Hello?
There's no such thing.
Are you listening?
There's no such thing as there would never be a balanced budget from here on forth.
Well, Alexander Hamilton never believed in a balanced budget, but I don't think he would have this excessive, insane deficit spending that we have. It's, hey, the money grows on trees till it doesn't anymore. The Fed will print more money. The Treasury will issue more bonds. Somebody will buy them, because if the bank don't buy them, the Fed will buy them. How do they do it? Bink, they hit a button. That's it. We got all the bonds we need.
Immediately creates debt, a debt-based society.
Right. And then, of course, it creates inflation. And you lose your freedom.
Yeah, and the chickens are coming home to roost, man.
Yep. Yes, they are.
So one thing I want to cover before we get too far. So let's go back to the video a little bit. We want to talk a little bit about that. That was Dr. Peter Navarro. So I want you to set the stage. I'm just going to pull this up again where everybody can see it. The video that we played first.
Great.
So give us a little bit of context on this, because I thought this is very interesting. And as you said, Navarro, he went to jail March the 15th, right?
I don't remember the date. I think it was after the 20th or something like that. I don't have the exact date there, but it's probably about the 15th or the 20th.
Gotcha.
I had a letter.
Oh yeah, we want to go and bring this up. Well, go ahead and give us a little bit of background on the video that we watched. So he was responding to the media about several things.
Well, he was denied a delay because his case is going to go before the Supreme Court, and they haven't heard it. Basically, what happened is that the illegitimate Nancy Pelosi Select Committee on January 6th had subpoenaed him. Peter Navarro works as an economic advisor in the manufacturing and trade auspices, if you will. and he was issued a subpoena to testify on J6.
Okay.
Well, there's a thing called the separation of powers.
Right.
And so here they're using this situation as an intimidation tactic as opposed to finding out, he's the first person to go to prison
right.
For any Trump-related in the White
correct.
House.
That's correct.
Why are White House advisors going to jail?
Exactly. So he has been sentenced. He did not show up.
He was sentenced for 4 months on that video, and that video takes place about a half hour before he walks in. And the clip that you were going to play that took place maybe about 5 minutes before he walked in.
Miami
and
prison.
He was very emotional during that time.
Oh, I'm sure, and he mentioned Loudermilk's name.
He sure did.
So let's go ahead and move on to this. This is something that we were just talking about. I'm going to pull this up here. This Congress of the United States. And so...
Oh, yeah, good. You got it.
Let's watch this. So give us a little bit of background here. I'm going to pull this up, and then everybody can see it.
So Andy Biggs wrote Congressman a letter saying, hey, Peter Navarro is about to step into jail. We know that this committee that Nancy Pelosi put together is illegitimate. You've proven that it was illegitimate. You need to do something to prevent Navarro going in jail.
Mm-hmm.
That's...
Right. So we have highlighted here, as you continue your work, I encourage you to conduct further oversight over the January 6th committee's decision to recommend contempt of Congress charges against former Trump administration officials. As you are likely aware, the White House Director of the Office of Trade and Manufacturing, Peter Navarro, has been ordered to report to prison next week based on his refusal to comply with the demands of the committee that has been shown to be illegitimately constituted and hopelessly tainted. As you can see, this was signed by Representative Andy Biggs, Matt Gaetz, and Matt Rosendale. So, very interesting.
Yeah. Well, there's a guy by the name of Hunter Biden.
Yeah.
What happened to him when he walked out when he didn't answer his subpoena?
I don't think he went to prison. I think he's suing everybody in oblivion for releasing.
This is what we're up against. We're up against evil, right?
Right.
But look, you want to go back to that? Go ahead. I just wanted to draw that comparison.
I thought this was great. So where's Loudermilk on this? I mean, he got a letter that was signed and written to him that he needed to press some buttons. He needed to bring down the hammer.
Well, I think his fan club needs to call him and ask him that question because he does have a fan club. Gotcha. And I've approached him on this and other things. They don't want to hear it. They don't want to know that their savior is fallible.
Wow.
Right? They don't want to know it.
I've not heard anything about this, but I find that very, very interesting. So, seems to me like it's all a bunch of dog and pony show. I mean, really. It's the same thing with elections, election integrity, the things that really matter to the people. We see all these court cases that are just tied up and tied up and tied up, and by the time that they get a judgment, a ruling, what's going to happen? For example, Curling Raffensperger, they're supposed to be coming out with a judgment. May the 7th? We have the Joe Rossi coming into the Board of Elections in Atlanta, right? They've said on paper, in an official statement, there was election fraud in Georgia. What is that going to do? What is that going to do? You think they're going to just give we're going to re-elect Donald Trump in 3 months? No.
You know what? Let me give you a tactical point that Soros does.
Okay.
He won't donate money. He probably will, but not very much money to the presidency, to senators, to congressmen. He focuses on district attorneys.
District attorneys, local elections,
it's the most bang for the buck. The man's very smart on getting a return on investment.
100%. 100%.
So.
And I hear he's donating quite a lot to these college campus, protests that are going on. So, that's a whole different can of worms we can get into later. But yeah, George Soros likes to spread his money around to people who like to throw bricks in windows.
Well, so. It's also a distraction of what's going on in New York as well.
Oh, of course.
There's a Trump trial.
There's a Trump trial.
They're taking oxygen out of the room, and you know what? They're not talking about inflation. Like we're talking about.
Oh, no.
They're not talking about the weaponization of the judicial system.
No. Why would they?
But they're taking, and Fox News, along with the rest of them, What's interesting is if you dig deep, really deep, the Office of Strategic Services, which was created during Roosevelt's administration to combat propaganda from Nazi Germany, it morphed into the CIA.
Sure it did. Operation Mockingbird Media.
Yeah. There you go. Right, exactly.
And people don't even understand that either. They don't understand that whole concept of, but we're not,
Yeah. Well, hey, maybe they need a pet mockingbird in
do
their
you really
cage.
think Fox News really wants Donald Trump to be
They're
president?
owned by
anyway?
foreigners, right? They
Sure.
don't care. And the sons of this guy that owns it, they're extraordinarily liberal, if not just quite.
Of course they are. Of course they are.
Yeah.
Fox News. I mean, Fox News really showed its cards when they fired Tucker Carlson over the Dominion case, and there was a few of us that were the first to put it together that Tucker Carlson was a bargaining chip. In order to let them off lightly, they needed to fire Tucker Carlson, and that showed all Fox News cards.
What I understand is that the old man, Rupert Murdoch, didn't want to testify.
Of course,
that was the whole reason why, because allegedly he's not that sharp, but he's sharp enough to be a billionaire.
I guess.
So I don't know how that works out, but that's the rumor.
No, I mean Fox News has lost a lot of credibility. I mean, we're at the forefront now where you can get more truthful information doing things like what me and you are doing right now than you will on the news.
Alternative news.
Absolutely.
Stuff. So,
absolutely.
I believe what I've tried to do, and now that I have a voice, I can educate people on how things are working, how we can get our country back. I gave someone a book called The Precinct Strategy, and by Daniel Schultz. It's a different title, and that's how we get it back. We take over the Republican Party. We see the feud that's going on with within the Georgia GOP, which I've been told that it's the laughing stock of the nation.
It's definitely gonna. I think either way you go, it's gonna be very polarizing, and it's gonna hurt.
Well, you think Kemp has anything to do with it?
I don't know. I don't know. I tell you what. How I'm handling the situation is I don't have a dog in the fight, and there's nothing I can do. So I'm watching everything.
Well, actions speak louder than any words.
Agreed.
We can see what Kemp did with regards to the election in 2020.
Sure.
We could see what happened with Fannie Willis.
Oh yeah,
and
ongoing.
19 people for a RICO case.
And then wouldn't you
for
know
a
it?
phone call.
Sure, and wouldn't you know that the very people that are like the Fannie Willis case, those were judges that were appointed by Kemp. I'm not. I mean, there's correlation there. I know I can't prove it, but I know beyond a reasonable doubt in my mind that Kemp is sharing money up in my area to run people and things against my state senator. All that stuff's coming from these coalitions. Where he said he no longer needs the Republican Party. So why would I think that Brian Kemp has any interest in myself or my beliefs when he's already come out and told me that, hey, we don't need you anymore. I'm starting my own thing. So, I mean, obviously, when you get told that, it's not very appealing, or it doesn't appear to be that he's on my side.
The thing about Brian Pritchard that I have asked people, and no one has given me an answer.
Okay.
Let's take the election. He voted the election illegally. And 6 times or whatever it was.
9 times, yes.
9 times. Let's take it off the table. Because, number one, it's on appeal, right? So, yeah, he's convicted, but he still has an out. Take that off the table. What do you have left over? Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
You said it.
I made my case. Yeah. I mean, please, somebody, chime in, call me. I'd be more than happy to listen to what you have to say.
There's a lot of things going on in that arena, and I continue to pray for discernment, and for everybody involved, because I think that I'm going to be right on this. That regardless which way the wind blows in this case, it's gonna be an upset, and it's going to be a big disruption.
Oh,
so
one way,
it already has
one
been.
way or the other.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's 50% of the people I think are going to be disappointed.
Yeah.
Well, at least that's what I can see right now.
Sure. So.
So
we got a lot of stuff going on. Georgia,
Yeah.
I mean, it goes back to the same thing I talk about all the time. Georgia is, if not the number one, but one of the most pivotal states coming up in the election. Coming up, I mean, there's so many things, correlation between Georgia and D.C. There's so much money being poured into this state. Hollywood has moved over. They're trying to root us out of
we
this
got to
state.
get Hollywood out. Is what we got to
Well,
do.
absolutely.
We got to tell them, hey, you know what?
And they won't do that. They're
yeah.
getting too much money off of
Yeah.
Hollywood. They're too much in bed with Hollywood. And we look at what kind of cesspool Hollywood has become. Look at the child trafficking situations of Harvey Weinstein, which he's fixing to go to court again because the Court of Appeals are letting him off on technicalities. This is insane. This whole, I mean, it's almost too much to take, and we wonder why people don't want to get more involved. We wonder why people,
it's hard. It takes a lot of work.
But when you see past the veil, you can't unsee things, and I think people run from that a lot.
Well, you know what I ask people, people like yourself, you're working hard, and then you come in here to spread the word, if you will, and you don't have a lot of time left over.
No.
So what you're doing is you're taking people like myself and the other candidates and supporting them.
Mm-hmm.
And so I ask people, we know you can't be in the fight,
Right.
but support the fighters.
Sure.
Even if you're just on the sidelines.
I couldn't agree more.
You can either chip in some money, or you can just plain old vote.
Right.
Or you can kind of spread the news of what's going on. But, you got to take some sort of action, because it's the action that's going to be.
Right. And voting, right? Because we know that the elections are contested. We know that November is going to be contested. But the thing is if you're not making plans now to vote, if you're not making plans to vote in this primary, to get out and do something, if you've never done it before, if you don't even have motivation, how would this motivate you? The fact that you're president of the United States of America at this time is literally working on pathways of citizenship for unassimilated illegal aliens in this country that can have access to vote for the person that's going to represent you. If that's not enough for you to understand how pivotal it is for you to get up and vote, then I don't know that anything is going to change your mind. But we have got to we have to overwhelm the algorithm.
I don't know how an executive order can make somebody a citizen.
Well, I don't either.
But he's the executive branch, and so he can move immigration services through.
Sure he can.
So,
So
let me ask you, why give him the money to do it?
Well, I know that's another thing too.
They're bringing in that bill, that HR 815. There's I forget, like $5 billion, some insane amount of money to bring people over from the Middle East into our country. So the Customs and Border Patrol are acting like travel agents now. They
Of course.
The CBP-1
we
app.
saw the video
They
from
give you
Colton
money.
Moore.
And the State Department. The State Department has a program where they'll lend people money to come into this country with the promise that they're going to pay it back. And then there's a side note. Well, if you can't pay it back, don't pay it back.
Right. Forgiveness, right?
Yeah. I mean,
And then
I
what do
got
we
so
have-
many examples right here of that.
What do we have running all of this, right? It's called non-governmental organizations, NGOs, that are getting paid with your taxpayer dollars to fund people to bring these policies and put them in place and enact all of these things. And the government can sit back in their hands and say, hey, this is a non-governmental organization. But I guarantee you every bit of that is paid with your tax dollars.
They gutted
insane.
They gutted HR 815. This right here. They gutted it. They gutted that thing. We can gut the NGOs. We can gut the UN, which is also responsible for this. We can get rid of NATO. Why do we need NATO? Well, the whole purpose of NATO was to keep Russia out, the Americans in, and the Germans down.
That's true.
And so where are they today? Well, they're encroaching, trying to take over Ukraine, have a NATO member so they could be sitting right on the border of Russia.
And that's
and the Black Sea. If you look at the logistics, they have a lot of resources there.
Absolutely.
Uranium for one of them.
Uranium, breadbasket of the world.
I'll show you the uranium thing that came through the other day through the Senate. That'll blow your mind too. So how do they get their minerals out? Through the North Sea, the oil. They're selling a lot of oil to China right now, and I'm sure it's more than $60 a
They've
barrel.
they've sold all of our reserves, and Biden didn't feel like it was necessary to replenish them, did he?
The strategic petroleum. That's another one. I'm going to tell you.
I know.
Barry, let's do battle. Me and you, buddy. He depleted it by 50%.
Mm-hmm.
And I just learned today that the only reason why he can't go lower than 50% because where it's stored, these salt sands,
like salt mines and
salt
stuff
mines,
like that. Mm-hmm.
where they're put in, have to have a certain level, otherwise they collapse.
Wow.
That's what I understand. Now, here's another understanding. At the rate they're putting in, bringing back trying to bring the strategic petroleum reserve back up, replenish it, it's going to take 16 years.
Jesus.
16 years.
That's pretty
and
wild.
that's I forget the gentleman's name who said that about a year ago. So, yeah.
Wild stuff, man.
Yeah. And then don't forget, there's Michael Johnson. Mike
yeah,
Johnson.
Mike Johnson. Where do we begin?
Yeah.
Good God.
Yeah, he's a
Now
Democrat.
$95 billion again.
Is your head hurting yet?
It is.
You want a glass of water?
Oh no, I'm okay. It's overwhelming even for us. I mean, we're sitting here talking about all these things, and obviously, I mean, you can start something, I can finish it, vice versa. We're well versed in these things, and we could go on and on forever. We are in the death throes of a societal collapse in this country. And why do they want to do this? I'm dead set. They want to kill the Constitution. It is all a depopulation agenda, bringing in one world religion, one world government, and that's why all these people are in lockstep. Because they think they have a place at the table.
Well, my question, let's say these entities between the Chinese Communist Party, the Muslim Brotherhood, and the Marxists of the World Economic Forum, who's going to be the winner of the three?
Lord, I would say the Chinese probably, just because of the population.
Well, not just population; they're the smartest entity out there.
Well, they've already got their people completely controlled.
Yeah.
They went through the Cultural Revolution, Mao Zedong. They went through all these things. They're 10 years ahead of us in technology. Don't let anybody fool you. I'm not talking about the development of technology, but what they've been able to implement on their people. Okay, a documentary that came out in 2019 that was a PBS documentary. They're 10 to 15 years ahead of schedule in how they control their population with their technology. I've covered it ad nausea on this show in the last year and a half, and that's what are they pushing in New Zealand, Australia, Canada, all around us, the UK. They're trying to push all of these things, and what we have in America that stands in the way is the Constitution of the United States.
Absolutely.
That is the only thing that is protecting us from this.
The thing that I've had to work really hard at is, like, I can't go to bed at night without reading the Federalist Papers.
Wow.
But the last 3 weeks, I'm a junkie.
Mm-hmm.
I can't. The writing, the intelligence that's behind there, the insight on human nature, that whole Federalist Papers is all about human nature and the study of history and the Christian beliefs that they had. And this is probably one of the biggest reasons why I'm doing the sacrifices that these people, they gave all their money, they gave their lives, and as Benjamin Franklin said, either we all hang together or we all hang separately.
Exactly.
And
it seems like a big push to hang separately. That's for dang sure right now.
yeah, well, if you don't defend your nation, you're going to hang anyway.
Yep.
So,
Either way.
Yeah.
So it's very important. So I'm going to ask my two questions I asked everybody. What's your feelings on the Constitution? Do you support the Constitution? Are you willing to defend and die for the Constitution?
well, let's see. I have the Federalist Papers that I read and the Anti-Federalist Papers that I read.
Gotcha.
So I'm a constitutionalist.
Good.
And my philosophy on any bill, and I haven't seen one that I would vote yes on, is it constitutional? Do we need it? Can we afford it?
There you go.
That's all from the John Birch Society.
Yes,
That's
very good.
Yeah,
I need to join them.
yeah. They're a really good group. Man, they send me so much material. I don't have time to read it.
I hear you.
They have great education.
My second question, in accordance with the Constitution, what are your thoughts on the Second Amendment, the right to protect and bear arms? Do you support it? Are you willing to defend it?
I wasn't sure what John Lennon was talking about when he said happiness is a warm gun. But I'm going to be up with Reagan Box on Saturday at Appalachian Gun and Pawn.
Good. Yeah, I got that flyer today.
Yeah,
that's good.
Yeah. So
I'm gonna be in the belly of the beast this week in Atlanta.
With this invasion going on right now, these people don't have a place to live, and if we get bad enough, end up like Cuba,
right?
Where people would go onto your farm and steal your cows and kill your cows and chop them up right there, take them with you.
You're already getting your cars carjacked in broad daylight. What was it? What was that idiot? That idiot congressman, the bug eye. What's his name? Went to San Francisco. He's about to run for Senate. Went to San Francisco.
Oh, I know who you're talking about.
What is his name?
He's from Burbank.
Yeah, the idiot, the bug eye.
Pencil neck.
Yes, and he went to, I guess, to a fundraiser campaign.
Oh, yeah,
his vehicle got stolen. Broad daylight. They robbed all of his clothes. He had to show up without a suit on. So, poetic justice, I guess.
Yeah, he probably ignored it. It's like,
and then, of course, Chicago, you've got mayors and judges in Chicago that are trying to say that it's unconstitutional for illegal immigrants to be excluded from owning firearms in this country.
Well, I think in Chicago,
it's Chicago.
You can own a firearm if you're an illegal immigrant, but if you're a citizen, you can't.
Yeah, and me as a bail bondsman, I can't carry a gun in the city or I'm technically breaking the law.
Really?
Oh, yeah, there's lots of places like that. New York City. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, so the second, I think everybody should have a gun.
Absolutely.
I really do. I'm even thinking about an M15, but I'm like, well, do I really need to shoot over 1,000 yards?
Well, it never hurts.
No. It might hurt somebody, though.
You got to stay good with the hunting rifles. You know, we may end up needing them before it's over.
Okay. All right. That sounds like a plan.
Good.
So.
Well, awesome, man. Well, I know we're getting about the hour mark, so what I'm going to do, we didn't get many comments tonight. We've had people dropping in and out. Matthew Hardwick says, great seeing both of you here tonight. We appreciate it. Sharon Holland watching. We always appreciate Sharon Holland. She supports the show. So tell our viewers here.
Hey, Matthew Hardwick's up there, man.
Yeah.
Hey, Matt, how are you doing, buddy? Nice to see you.
Yes.
He's a good man.
I want you to tell our audience, what kind of like a final statement. What do you want to tell the people out here about Mike Pons?
Well, the American dream. This was what got me started here. I grew up in housing projects in New York City. Dad split when I was 7 years old. I was fortunate. I was the oldest of three. So I became the man of the house at age 7, which is kind of rough to do. So the childhood wasn't exactly there because I was taking care of business, my younger brother and sister. And we were on welfare. There were nights where we went to bed hungry. Rice and beans was the staple because we got that from the welfare system. Powdered eggs, cans,
blocks of cheese.
Blocks of cheese, yeah. How do you know?
Well, because I was in the 80s in Chicago, so I remember growing up and we got the blocks of cheese and stuff.
Yeah, who lives like that today? Really? I mean, you think about it. We've come such a long way. So, I went to a Catholic school, and mostly Irish Catholic school in Queens, New York, Woodside, New York, right. And I'd watch all these airplanes land at LaGuardia Airport, and I was like, oh man, that's cool. I want to do that one day. And so Jesus Christ became my first hero.
Right.
I didn't think about this for a long time. Just recently, what happens when you go through this process of becoming an elected official, you do a lot of self-introspectiveness. And so, I didn't have the dad. So I said, Jesus Christ was my hero. To some extent,
right.
He was my father because he was my moral compass, more or less. And then, of course, there was George Washington. And I really love the fact that, he chopped down that cherry tree and, yes, I did it.
Right.
The integrity, the honesty, then becoming the father of our country. So that, and then, fast forward, it took me a long time. I did photography for a living for about 10 years or so between working in a dark room and struggling, making ends meet, riding motorcycles. And then I got hooked on flying airplanes, got that dream that I had way back when. And at the age of 40, I got my first airline job.
Wow.
And I was making $18,000 a year in 1996, which wasn't a lot of money, but it was enough to pay the rent and food.
Well, you could live off of it.
I could live off of it. I could live off of it.
Absolutely.
And so then, I became captain at Southwest Airlines, and it gave me enough money to kind of put away and run this campaign to an extent.
Just spent your time up in the sky.
Yeah, I did. So now it's my time to pay it back, because the whole time there I was just being a big kid because the little kid didn't have a chance to be a kid.
Gotcha.
So, and now it's my time to pay back. The other thing that's interesting is that I grew up in Woodside, New York, in the zip code 11377. We had the most killed in action in the Vietnam War than any zip code in the United States.
Wow, really?
I did not want to go to Vietnam.
Gotcha.
So, and I prayed to God, I don't want to go. First year that they stopped drafting people was the year I turned 18.
Wow, okay.
So,
yeah. And
so here I am.
Yeah, I'm a kind of a war junkie growing up all my life. And I think back to today, to how we've grown up readily accepting weapons of mass destruction and September 11th and all these things to realize. And the other day, this epiphany hit me about Vietnam. And it was like, what, all of these proxy wars we talk about. And Vietnam, a communist nation, and that was really one of the first real wars that we lost as a country, and so many people were killed and sacrificed. And I thought, Vietnam is a pretty decent place now, from what I understand. But what did we gain from all that? Like, what would have been the evolution of Vietnam, right? All of these wars and all of these people, such great people that were killed. And you think back, like, nobody even talks about Vietnam anymore.
Well, I do.
Absolutely, we should keep it alive.
You ever hear President Diem? He was the president of South Vietnam. Mm-hmm. He was assassinated the week before John F. Kennedy.
Oh wow, I didn't. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, let's get Oliver Stone back in the picture here. And there's another new book I just bought. It's about the whole. I'll show it to you one day. And I think it's the military-industrial complex. The Dulles brothers. Eisenhower did not trust his generals because his generals like to play with their toys. They're just part of the. It's not just the money.
Sure.
They want to play war. War games.
Of course.
Is not enough for these guys. Mm-hmm. And what happens? Look at all these freaking. I don't mean. I'm not talking bad about the vets. Look at all these poor vets that suffer from PTSD.
Absolutely.
I had a conversation with a guy who works in D.C. He's a representative for the vets, and he talked about PTSD. He said, "Oh, this guy has PTSD. That one has it. This one." And I said, well, "Tell me a Vietnam War vet that doesn't have PTSD.
Sure.
Tell me any vet, actually.
Sure.
I mean, you watched your buddy 1 minute ago. His guts are hanging out.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's got to be traumatic. People just can't sleep at night.
Yes.
And then we got this BS 815 bill. Give me a freaking break. This bill, right? These people that suffer from PTSD, from a phone conversation yesterday with a guy by the name of Philip, he said there's a correlation between the PTSD and your oral health, your heart, whatever the fuck. You just manifest it in a different
it's mind
area.
Over matter, always.
And so the VA will say, well, deny your claim because you cannot prove it. That's where we are. The VA has a culture problem.
Oh, big, and it's government ran.
And one of the things that I would love to do is fix that VA.
Sure.
That's one of the things. If I can accomplish one thing, that would be it.
Gotcha, man. Tell everybody again how they can support you.
Well, I'm Mike Pons. I didn't do that in the beginning. We got MikePons.org, MikePons.org. And if you just hit the donate button, $5, $10, $5 will buy a sign, $50 will buy actually 25 will buy a bigger sign, and everything would help. I'm doing the best I can with the resources that I have.
Gotcha.
And also anybody that wants to pitch in and help, let's get this grassroots movement
absolutely
at warp speed.
There you
Scotty.
go.
Warp speed.
Yep, voting, early voting is going on now. Voting May 21st. It's the primary. We've got to get active. So,
action.
well, Mike, I think we could probably talk all night, brother.
Yeah,
it's been a pleasure.
Well,
again
thank you
with
so much.
Yep, and I expect to see Mike back here again. We always have fun. This is our second time together, and I love being able to share information like this with people. It's so easy when we're on the level.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, well, I like to educate people too. Hopefully some people got some knowledge. And
Yes.
if you have any questions, you can email me, call me, you want to know more about what we talked about today, I'd be more than happy to share the information so we can pass it on to others.
Sounds good. Now, we've got more candidate interviews coming up. It won't be any this weekend. We'll have a break, and then we'll be coming back Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday. We got a busy schedule. I will be posting it. If you like the show and like what we're doing, you can go to givesendgo.com/smalltownunderground. I'm working on donations to help me buy a better camera so I can do a lot more media for the channel. Thank you guys for being here with me. It was a great evening. I really enjoyed it. And check out MikePons.org, and let's get this man elected and representing the people. So you guys have a great evening. Good night.